badly. Down in the plaza, Eddie Barker can show us where those witnesses stood and what they were in a position to see as they tell their own stories.
Dan, Arnold Rowland was here with his wife on Houston Street in the crowd waiting for the motorcade. A few minutes before it arrived, Rowland told the Warren Commission he noticed an elderly Negro man up in the window where you are now, where Oswald is supposed to have fired from. But he told the commission, and a few days ago repeated his story for us here, of seeing a gunman lurking in another window entirely.
I just looking around and we noticed a man up in the window, and I remarked to my wife, tried to point him out, and remarked that he must be a security guard, Secret Service agent.
The window then that you're referring to is on the opposite end of the building from where the main entrance to the building is.
Yes, it is on the other side of the building. And he had a rifle. It looked like a high-powered rifle because it had a scope which looked in relation to the size of the rifle to be a big scope.
Now, over here, Dan, still on Houston Street and not very far from the Rowlands, was Mrs. Carolyn Walther. Mrs. Walther says that she saw two men with a gun in the book depository.
I looked at this building and I saw this man with the gun, and there was another man standing to his right, and I could not see all of this man, and I couldn't see his face. And the other man was holding a short gun. It wasn't as long as a rifle. And he was holding it pointed down, and he was kneeling in the window or sitting. His arms were on the window, and he was holding the gun in a downward position, and he was looking downward.
About what floor would you say these two men were on that you saw in the window?
The first statement that I made, I said the man was on the 4th or the 5th floor, and I still feel the same way. He was just about in a window that was just about even with the top of that tree. I thought the man had light hair or brown and was wearing a white shirt. But I explained to the FBI agents that I wasn't sure about that. That was just my impression. I'm thinking about it later, that I thought that was the way the man was dressed.
Now, what about this other man who was in the window?
This other man was wearing a brown suit, and that was all I could see was half of this man's body, from his shoulders to his hips.
Now, over here, on the corner opposite the book depository, stood a 15-year-old boy named Amos Ewens. A few days ago, Amos Ewens came back here with us and gave a vivid account of the assassination itself and of a piece of pipe he saw poking out of a window. Your window, Dan.
When he come around, and when I was standing there, I happened to look up and I seen a pipe, So I never did pay no attention, thinking it might be a pipe, just a pipe, sticking out. So it was sticking out about a foot, about that high, So.
Point out for me the window where you saw this piece of pipe.
Well, it was about on the 6th floor, right below the bouncer.
Among the witnesses here in the plaza, the commission relied heavily on the testimony of Howard Brennan, who, watching from just about here, said that he actually saw the assassin firing.
I looked directly across and up, possibility at a 45-degree angle, and this man, same man I had saw prior to the president's arrival, was in the window and taking aim for his last shot. After he fired the last or the third shot, he didn't seem to be in a great rush, hurry. He seemed to pause for a moment to see if for sure he accomplished his purpose, and he brought the gun back to rest in upright position as though he was satisfied.
It should be noted here that the commission failed to follow up Mrs. Walther's story. She was interviewed briefly by FBI agents, but never called before the commission or its staff, who accumulated vast minutiae on the relatives of Lee Harvey Oswald. Despite these discrepancies, his co-workers knew and certainly saw Oswald. The CBS News answer, Oswald was in the book depository building when the shots were fired, most probably on the 6th floor.
This CBS News inquiry, the Warren Report, will continue in a moment.
Handle with care. That's what this familiar emblem says. And you'll get one like it when you insure your car with State Farm Mutual, the world's largest car insurance company. Then, wherever you drive, whether your need for claims service is large or small, you'll have a friend nearby to handle everything with care. There are some 13,000 full-time State Farm agents and claim representatives all across the country. Wouldn't you like to have them caring about you and your car? Then let a nearby State Farm agent mark your car for careful handling. And don't be surprised if it costs less than you're shelling out now.
The Longhorns come to Marlboro country. Longhorns, new extra long Marlboro 100s. Big gold pack. Big flavor, too, in the new longer Marlboro. New extra long Marlboro 100s with Marlboro flavor all the way. The Longhorns come to Marlboro country. New extra long Marlboro 100s.
A CBS News inquiry, the Warren Report, continues. Here again is Walter Cronkite.
We come now to our fourth question for tonight. Was Oswald's rifle fired from the building? To answer this one, the commission placed major reliance on physical evidence found within the building. 3 shells, later identified as fired from Oswald's rifle, were found 42 minutes after the shots. 10 minutes later, a rifle was discovered.
The rifle was found on the 6th floor way between some cartons by Deputy Constable Seymour Weitzman. And from that episode came a description that has plagued the Warren Commission account for years. The identification of it as a German Mauser. Eddie Barker asked Constable Weitzman what happened.
To be very frank with you, I stumbled over it two times, not knowing it was there.
Just went right by.
Went right by. And Mr. Boone was climbing on top, and I was down on my knees looking, and I moved a box, and he moved a carton, and there it was. And he in turn hollered that we had found the rifle.
Well, when did you first get a full view of the gun?
When the crime lab brought the gun out, after they had gone over it, well, I could see portions of the gun while they were doing partial investigation of it there in the building.
What kind of gun did you think it was?
To my sorrow, I looked at it, and it looked like a Mauser, which I said it was, but I said the wrong one because it just at a glance I saw the Mauser action, and I don't know, it just came to words, it's a German Mauser, which it wasn't. It's an Italian-type gun. But from a glance, it's hard to describe, and that's all I saw. It was at a glance. I was mistaken, and it was proven that my statement was a mistake, but it was an honest mistake.